cramp down on tax avoidance.
Yes, a 10-point declaration they have all put their names to. Devil will be in the detail, of course, of putting that into action. But really what it's all about is dealing in particular with companies who, many of them, feels that they managed to almost play off different countries' tax systems against each other in order to minimise their own tax bill. Well, for the British Prime Minister, David Cameron, he was keen to see this declaration as an important breakthrough.
The Lock-Earn Declaration that we have signed sets out some simple and some clear commitments. Tax authorities across the world should automatically share information, so those who want to evade taxes have nowhere to hide. Companies should know who really owns them, and tax collectors and law enforcers should be able to obtain this information easily.
David Cameron there. What about the markets? How have they been going in Asia?
Yeah, let's take a look at those. The Nikkei, in fact, has been making some pretty good gains in this Wednesday's trading session, up almost 2%, as you can see there. The yen, a weaker yen helping. Also, exports are up 10% in May, and that was the biggest rise for 3 years. So that's encouraged sentiment. Investors will be watching to see what the Federal Reserve says later this Wednesday about its ongoing support for the economy.
Now, protests, the latest ones, of course, in Brazil. Matthew's been having that regular look at what exactly, of course, it means for the economy in the country, because obviously it has quite a profound effect.
Yes, it does. And in fact, we talk a lot about the success of the Brazilian economy. That's been the main story about Brazil, how its economy is now the 6th biggest in the world. But protesters clearly unhappy about things. Now, in fact, what's been happening is the growth that was very strong in 2010 when Dilma Rousseff took power has been slowing down, as you can see there, just 0.6% in the first 3 months of this year. That was lower than had been forecast. And for ordinary Brazilians, big problem has been inflation, which has been creeping up. It's now around 6.5%. That has an impact on the cost of living. And of course, these long-running problems of poor public services, high crime as well, corruption as well, sparking a lot of those protests.
And one of those protests going on as well, an annual meeting of top businesswomen has gone ahead as planned in Brazil.
Yes, the Brazil Women's Forum meeting in Sao Paulo, where we've seen lots of those protests, went ahead as planned over the last couple of days. Now, the country may have a female president, but many are concerned that not enough women are making it to the top of business. Well, this report from Mark Edwards and Francois Cardona.
It's the second edition of the Women's Forum Brazil, where a group of 500 women have gathered to debate the future of their country. This year, the key issue is the lack of women in upper management roles. Only around 13% of corporate senior executives are female. Same story on boards of directors and executive committees. But there are exceptions. Celina Borges Capri is chairman of the board of directors for Libra, one of South America's biggest shipping companies.
Do you see a network or infrastructure which helps women out? That's our challenge.
For Carpi, it's time Brazilian women were allowed to climb higher up the corporate ladder. But to achieve this, they'd need to work together.
I think one of the challenges for women who want to progress is the ability to create their own networks. Nobody gets to those top jobs without a well-structured network.
According to a study revealed at the forum, companies with no female senior executives generated less profits than ones which promote women into those roles.
I think women know that you need to prepare for tomorrow's world today, and that our behavior today will influence our future. Women have more long-term vision, and the world needs that to grow in a sustainable way.
The question remains whether Brazilian women will know how to change tomorrow's world. What is clear is that they have every intention to try and do so.
They're all in those phones in those pictures, and we have, of course, all faced the problem of phones running out of battery, white when we're out and about. New York, though, they've got a sunny solution, haven't they?
They have. For as long as the sun shines, this will work. At least city authorities in New York have teamed up with one of the biggest phone companies there, AT&T, to develop a network of charging stations. You can see some of them there. Now, what's different about them is they're powered by solar energy. And in fact, it was those power cuts during Superstorm Sandy, do you remember when everyone was rushing around trying to get their phones charged, that helped inspired this initiative. Let's take a listen.
And when we were out there in Sandy and people had no electricity and they had nowhere to go and they wanted to get those phones charged up and be able to talk to their relatives, their employers, to explain why they weren't at work, AT&T came to us and helped us. So it was a natural to then think, this grew out of a tragedy and this grew out of a crisis, but why not use it in good times and in sunny days like today?
I hope they charge up quick, otherwise you're spending a long time in the park, aren't you?
You've
kind
got
of
to be. That's
standing
right.
there,
A few hours.
tapping your fingers on the desk. Matthew, thank you very much. Matthew with the business on France 24. More, of course, from him in just under an hour's time. Going to take you to web news now. Coming up, we've got some fast food scandals in the US. It starts, though, with news of Turkey's silent protests.
Adam Gundo